Power Hour LSU.
PHL, extra little bit of swag, an extra little bit of taste.
Yeah. Man, I'm headed to the field. Terror of the tiger, I'ma always keep it real. Everything gon' get devoured. It's the power. LSU with Carter, it's the power. LSU with Carter, man, I'm headed to the field. Terror of the tiger, I'ma always keep it real. Everything gon' get devoured. It's the power. LSU with Carter, it's the power. LSU with Carter.
Let's go on a glorious Sunday evening. Give me some of your energy because it was a great recruiting weekend. There was one guy who said, hey, I am pretty much signed into LSU. He publicly commits. He shuts it down. His name. Well, I kind of want to give you a little bit of a tease here because he is from the same state that Garrett Nussmeier is from, at least where he played high school football. So what I want to do is start today's show with the viral clip from Garrett Nussmeier over the weekend. And this wasn't just a motivational speech.
For me, what it means to be at LSU, it means everything. As most of y'all know, I grew up moving around a lot, so I was always around kind of the college football world, and the brand of LSU is something that's almost undescribable. If you think about the entire population of this entire state, and most kids, literally from ages 8 to 16 across the entire country, every single one of them at every single position that we all play want to be in this room. They want to be in our meetings. They want to be with us when we live. So when you approach each rep, when you approach each set, when you approach each meeting, do that shit the right way because one, somebody will try to replace you, and two, these coaches will replace you. That's what it means. To be here, you have this gift, this opportunity. This is not it's not given. This is a privilege, Like we get an opportunity to play for LSU. LSU is going to be here a long time after us, and it's been here a long time before us. It's what you want to do with your opportunity to be a part of this program.
Ooh. Ooh. So, I've got to be real. I've got to be real. That wasn't just a speech. It wasn't just a speech. It wasn't, hey, you guys, I'm so happy to lead you. It was that. It also wasn't just a speech thanking the teammates. Like, I wouldn't be here without you. It was a message that is true. It is an honor and a privilege to play for Louisiana State University. You should be happy that you are here. But not only should you be happy, you should be lucky. There are people in the state of Louisiana that only dream of growing up to play for LSU. And I understand. It sounded like just any other motivational thing. No, Garrett Nussmeier relayed the message, a specific one, that none of you in this room right now, including myself, is above the team. And one of the hardest things that we have to admit in society is, guess what? Whatever exists before you existed. But everything after you leave LSU, after you leave this earth, guess what it's going to do? It's still going to exist. Tom Brady accomplished things that we may never see another quarterback accomplish. NFL ratings are still ridiculous. NFL success are still ridiculous. Tom Brady had his magical number 12 retirement ceremony this past weekend in New England. And guess what? New England fans loved it. But they're also ready for the Drake May era to start. LSU will be here before you. It'll be here after you. And the brand pushes you forward instead of the other way around, more often than not. That is a really direct message. And it's tough. It's tough because one way you can take that message as a young player is you don't matter. And in the grand scheme of things, you kind of don't, but you do matter. Because if you want to buy in to the LSU team and the LSU brand, you will see what it can do for you in the long run. Even if you're not a great player, even if you don't make it to the NFL, LSU is a network of all networks that obviously you've seen how many former LSU football players that Brian Kelly has employed even before his own regime. You've got to buy in. I understand everybody wants a bigger check. And there are probably some LSU players that are sitting in that room right now saying, man, maybe I should have gone to the portal. We saw middle tier defensive linemen get $500K. Why? Maybe I could have done it. Maybe I could have done it at my position. But Garrett Nussmeier is saying, no, the opposite's actually true. You're in the place that you need to be if you truly respect the big three letters of LSU. And I understand. Like I said, it's tough. It's tough. It is something that really hurts your ego. It really can. If this show ended today, LSU football, you would still be fans of LSU football. Now, I would hope you would miss me. But guess what? Life moves on. Things move on. People move on. So I love the specificity of it. I really, really, really did. And it wasn't really specific. I don't think specificity is the right word, but it really did hammer home a point that I felt needed to be heard. And not everyone's going to like it. Not everyone's going to like it, but I like it when a quarterback, the leader of the team, gives you some harsh realities. I love it. Abso-freaking-lutely love it. And Chance is right, Bill Belichick is on a side quest here. Michael Besser wants to talk about two tight end sets. We say hi to Joshua. I got to hang out with Cliff over the weekend. We'll talk about it. So I was in Gonzales over the weekend. DJ had a really fun wedding for one of our PHLers. And I appreciate a lot of people at the wedding who actually came up to the booth and said, hey, I didn't know you did this as well. And that's cool. But most importantly, the music was great. The drinks were flowing. And we did have a very happy couple. So I want to dedicate the stream to Madeline and TJ. They're probably in a honeymoon right now, not thinking about me. I wouldn't be thinking about me either at this point. But I want to say thank you for having them. And thank you to everyone that stopped by. There was a young man who won a Soulja Boy dancing contest, and he never claimed his Leonard Fournette auto. I gave out a Leonard Fournette autograph to the best dancer of the night, and his name was Adam. So, Adam, if you're a groomsman and you watch this, send me a message. I'll email you, and I could send you the card. It's my favorite Leonard Fournette autograph. So, there you go. And I also want to wish all the dads of PHL. You know, we always talk about the super dads of PHL. A very happy Father's Day. We'll talk more about that as well. So, am I rocking a Father's Day fit? I am not a dad. I'm not a dad. Okay. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the recruiting weekend. I know a lot of you do not. Oh, so it wasn't that. It was Alex. So Cliff was with me. He assisted me, and he was awesome. Cliff was the best assistant one could ask for. And he was, dude, we were jamming. Like that really was. I'm not just saying this just to say it, but that was my first wedding I've DJ'd in Baton Rouge, Gonzales area. And I'm hooked. And I love doing weddings just wherever, but that it was my music for people from where I'm from. And it was just great. It was great. Now, I want to talk about the recruiting weekend. I really, really, really do. And I think this is the most newsworthy thing over the weekend. I know there was a lot of different guys. The corner from South Carolina, who's lanky and very athletic, who visited, and what was it? His name's I'm forgetting it. I know it begins with the letter O. But I want to talk about Charles Ross. He publicly does shut it down. Like I said, he is from Garrett Nussmeier, state of Texas, even though Nuss, like I said, originally he's from Louisiana. He played his high school football in Texas. Charles Ross, North Shore, obviously. Denver Harris played at North Shore High School. And that's just to let you know how competitive the Houston area is. North Shore is competing for state championships almost every year. And I like Charles Ross. I've watched him, not too thoroughly, but there will be a Patreon film study coming soon because he did say he's shutting it down. The way I understand it, he's not going to any more official visits. So this is very nice. A good off-ball linebacker. Obviously, off-ball linebacker has been a little bit more of a struggle than we would have liked to have thunk over the past few years. You know, for so long, it was kind of like DB, but linebacker as well. You kind of went from like that Deion Jones era and the Kendall Beckwith era, then you rolled right into the Devin White era, Patrick Queen, Jacob Phillips. And since then, it's just not necessarily been a lull, but it's not been as good. And it's good to have these types of players. Charles Ross, I think, is an SEC caliber linebacker, and I think he's going to be a really good player at LSU. And these are the kind of guys that Garrett Nussmeier is talking about, guys that are very happy to be here. And he's not from Louisiana, Charles Ross. At least I don't think. But the truth here is this is very good news, and I do feel it is the most newsworthy thing over the weekend. Now, just a cliffhanger for those listening via podcast and iTunes, Spotify. Please leave the 5-star review. A little bit later, a viral moment from a key Texas visitor over the weekend that made LSU look really good. Okay, so we'll talk about that coming up. Now, as we always do, we give out all kinds of goodies. I just got this card in the mail. I'll give it out tonight. Drew Brees Silver Prism from a few years ago, and I just dropped it. It's in a top loader, so it's okay. Still as good as new. We'll give this out. Since I just got it, I don't really want to give it out, but it was sitting right here and switching it up for my Believe in Saints listeners. This can go to anyone. Let's do first $25 super chat. We'll get the Drew Brees card in the mail. Now, I want to talk a little bit more over the recruiting weekend because it was a big camp weekend. I do think it was more of a focus on the 2026s and 2027s. That really doesn't excite most of my viewers. It does if you're a die-hard recruiting guy. I don't feel that that's necessarily my target audience. I feel like a lot of you care a lot about recruiting, but 2026 and 2027 is so far away unless you're committing. I do want to include, though, that Rajah Bell's son, the Phoenix Suns guard, Dia Bell, whatever it is, he can play. And we already did a Patreon film study on him, so you can check it out, patreon.com/LSU Football. I am feeling this is the direction LSU wants to head for its 2026 quarterback. And quarterback, obviously, is just a more important position when it comes to recruiting, and they do commit earlier. So I do find him to be very fascinating. He, like, as far as athleticism is concerned, he doesn't have, like, the same dual threat capabilities as a Bryce Underwood, if you will, but he is truly gifted with the throwing, and he does make off-platform plays. And one more thing I do like is the level of competition he plays in Florida is really good. You play Chaminade Madonna. I don't remember what high school he specifically. I think he's at Heritage. I don't remember, but I did chart a game versus Chaminade Madonna, and that team is just loaded with 4 and 5 stars. And he had some really, really impressive plays in a loss in that game. So I like to see that. I like to see good level of competition, and I like that I'm hearing that he's at these camps and he's performing at a really high level. So I'm really interested in him. He's a top 100 2026 player, and I would really, really like to see him commit. But, I could see him going elsewhere. I can also see a lot of quarterbacks for 2026 not interested in coming because of Bryce Underwood, and I get that as well. So if LSU could start stacking up elite quarterbacks, I mean, they already are doing that. That would be abso-freaking-lutely redunculous. So excited to hear about that, but I won't get too much into like the camp stuff because partially I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention. It is a lot of 7-on-7s and just kind of practicey stuff. It's not like actual football, but you can learn a lot about these evaluations because it's more good on good. If you sit down and watch a prospect's high school tape, you're watching that same prospect go up against the same team. Whereas if you're in a camp setting, you're going up against a wider variety of players who are likely higher caliber players. It's a very strange dynamic. So I'm really, really pumped up for Bell. I really am. So we'll see what happens there. Now, as we always do, I want to shout out our patrons. Patreon.com/LSU Football. Please go sign up. I released a Brandon Brown film study. That's a 2025 defensive lineman I like a lot. Texas felt pretty good. He did go visit Texas again over the weekend. And I'm a big Brandon Brown fan. Really, really big fan. And earlier today, I watched a good bit of Damian Shanklin. And this is a young man that's committing in late August. Met him at the spring game, did a quick little interview with him. I think I still have it. If he commits, I'll post it. It wasn't a long interview at all. But Damian Shanklin is a very, very interesting player from Indianapolis. And I do think he's pretty solid. I really do. I think there is a wide range of outcomes with him. And I feel like his floor is pretty high once I watch him. I feel like he is a guy that could very well be a Jamaria Roscoe type of player at LSU. Now, that's not special, but it's still really, really, really good. And for those that don't know, Jamaria Roscoe is actually back in LSU's orbit, which I love to see. That's one of my favorite players. That dude played really hard. Wasn't the biggest, wasn't the fastest, wasn't the strongest. Paired up with Daniil Hunter. And yeah, you would have thought that they would have been a little bit more productive in the stack department, but they were still good players. And I think the world of Roscoe, and I think Damian Shanklin has very, very similar traits roughly a decade later after Roscoe played. So I really, really like Damian Shanklin, and I would like him to be a part of this class. So there you go. That's basically what I've done. Obviously, a busy weekend. If you guys have any LSU football-related questions, as you always do, feel free to fire it on in. Now, I have a wide range of topics I'm going to get into tonight. All right. But this live stream is collaborative. This is as much about you as it is about me, as it is about anything. It's about LSU football. I do want to include one personal dilemma that I had over the weekend. All right. So, I was driving back late last night, and one of my favorite stops on the Louisiana highway, and it's right smack dab in the center of Louisiana. I am getting, I am getting nothing for saying this. And I want to be very clear because I'm about to talk about a casino. Okay, and the casino's name is Choctaw Pines in Gina, Louisiana. It's in between Pineville and Alexandria. I stop there every time I'm driving through the state of Louisiana. The nicest people are there. Okay. Nice bathrooms. They got a really good restaurant in there too. I am not making this up. You normally think LaBerge, which is really, really, really nice. But, LaBerge is in Baton Rouge. It's a metropolis. You wouldn't think a nice casino. I stopped there and, talked to a few people about LSU football and there's someone else that I was talking about PJ Woodland with them. And man, I was just really liking what I was hearing through spring camp. So I get back late last night and I put some PJ's huddle tape back on, and you just see little things of greatness. And I think there is a higher likelihood than we would like to think that he could be the number 2 corner on this entire team. And there are a wide range of outcomes when it comes to this LSU corner room, right? There's a little bit more certainty on the offensive side of the football when I watch when I watch them play. All right. But I also think defensively, part of the excitement is you do have fresh eyeballs and you do have LSU football fans that are open to replacing some of the older guard that are returning as starters from last year's team. So PJ Woodland, the 3-star true freshman, pretty much the best high school football player in the state of Mississippi last year, in the minds of many. And he was a 3-star corner who committed pretty late in the process. And man, I really, really enjoyed watching him after a long drive, because I was like, man, he is a random guy in the casino I'm talking to knows who this is. I'm pretty excited to talk about this. Javon, good to see you. Hey, did you ever get a chance to do the USC breakdown? I'll say this, Javon. I normally, thank you for the super chat. I normally wait closer to the season before I start doing any breakdowns on, I almost said South Carolina. We do play them as well, but Southern California. All right. There's so much that could change. There's injuries that could change. I don't want to do a full Miller Moss breakdown and then he tears his ACL next week. So a little bit closer to time, we'll dive a little bit deeper. I'm right now trying, and if anyone has any leads on this, I'm trying to schedule the get-together for PHL fans in Vegas because I am going. I'm really excited to get to go to this game. We said to Larry in Alexandria, or excuse me, Lafayette. I'm late to the chat. What speech did Nuss make, and where can I listen to it? Actually, Larry, I'll play it here again by the end of the hour. Something you can do, Larry, is I did play it earlier. You can actually rewind the stream. This is something, if you, because I know a lot of you join later as the stream goes on. You can actually rewind and just watch the stream as it happened. So you can go to the very front. It's like in the first few minutes. I got pretty much into it because it is actually one of the better speeches I've heard an LSU player give to the team because it was a pretty harsh dose of reality. And it's a lot for a player to say it. It's not, and I was going to save this for a different point for the speech, but we'll get to that here in just a second when I replay it here in just a second, okay? But Javon, I'll very much happily talk about USC here. So, obviously, USC joining the Big Ten. And do I think USC has a chance to be a really good football team? Yeah. They got really good 5-star pass catchers, Deuce Robinson, and then, of course, Zachariah Branch from Bishop Gorman High School entering year 2. They're going to be good offensively. We know that. They did lose Caleb Williams. They did lose Marshawn Lloyd. They did lose Taj Washington, who was a really good receiver for them. They lost Jerry Rice's son, Brendan Rice, who was a good player for them. But defensively, it was interesting. UCLA's DC comes over, and Deonton Lynn, last year had the best pass rusher in this year's NFL draft, Laitu Latu. But what I found to be really fascinating was he was also really good at scheming up pressures through simulated pressures. So LSU's offensive line will be going up against the USC defensive line. That's okay, but it's not so much the defensive line that you have to conquer. You have to communicate and put together what types of schemes they're going to throw at you, blitz packages that they're going to throw at you. So I'm really pumped up to see this because I'm a football nerd, and Lynn is one of the best defensive coordinator minds out there. And I think that's going to be really tough because, last year, obviously to me, the best defense when it comes to simulated pressures in the SEC is Georgia. So we didn't play Georgia's front, but when you think of their blitzes, think of what Mississippi State did over the years with Zach Arnett. Lots of chaos and different levels and layers of pressure. The good news, if you're an LSU offensive fan, is LSU has seen everything. I mean, this is an experienced, smart LSU offense that's practically going to be running the same Brian Kelly, Mike Denbrock, even though he's not here, offense with Cortez Hankton, and then, of course, Joe Sloan. So, basically, you have an offensive line. DJ Chester is new, but when you have that much continuity, it's going to be so hard to get pressure on Garrett Nussmeier just with doing that. So, I like LSU's offense going up against USC's defense. But once again, we're still so far away from the game, and I don't want to get too much into those types of breakdowns. Now, here's what's really cool. Folks, it may not seem like it. We are 13 days away from the next PHL get-together. Saturday, June 29th, 10 a.m. at Broadmoor Methodist Church. It's the Arclitect Sports Cards and Memorabilia Show. Guess what? It's free. It's free for you to go. Now, it is important to remind you, we have done a lot of these with the Arclitect folks. A lot. This is a new location, so don't go up showing to the old location. Be like, well, where's Carter? Okay. There's an LSU national champion, I believe, will be there. I'm going to get this double confirmed because I don't want to mislead you. But I am 99% sure that this guy is going to be here. But nevertheless, it's just so fun to hang out with other LSU fans. I'll be doing all kinds of giveaways. I give out so much of my collection and memorabilia at this show, okay? And I normally bring some of my favorite items here. So I might bring one of my favorite Justin Jefferson items to the show. But we'll see you then, okay? Now, I get a lot of questions about my sports memorabilia collection. And I actually have a team of people that I consult with, and they actually help me with my collection. We'll tell you about them coming up, as well as the most viral LSU photo. You're going to love it. You do not want to miss it right after this.
I think joy and happiness and doing things you like is important.
My favorite thing is sports cards. When I'm not on YouTube, I am building my collection. And when I started, I wish there was a sports card strategy show.
He wasn't necessarily going to be a first-round pick before all this Heisman buzz. Now they're talking about him being a top 5 pick.
Paul Hickey and the team at nooffseason.com personally helped build my Jaden Daniels collection, and they're looking to do the same for you. Just check them out on social media or nooffseason.com. Corian Moore goes on a recruiting visit, and this looks like just your typical family photo. Okay, so Decorian Moore here, obviously pretty high amount of family members here. And I'm glad he had a good time. Looks like everybody's having a good time. Grandma's there as well. But when you see it, you can't unsee it, if you get what I'm saying. When you see it, you can't Unsee it. First thing, DeCorian Moore. That is not a good hook 'em horns. Look at that. It's like it's more horizontal than it is vertical, right? And normally a hook 'em horns is like kind of at a 45-degree angle. This is 10-degree angle. But that is not the major takeaway. You got to scroll over here. My man, throwing up the L's for the school DeCorian Moore knows he should be going to. Now, could this kid here, could he have been overwhelmed by the moment, right? There's a lot going on. He's probably used to throwing up the L because, well, he's been committed. And he probably got confused and did the natural thing. Because who wants to do a hook 'em horns? The second thing is, did Texas take this kid's shoes? Okay. Where are his shoes? All right. Now, something else. Black forces. All right. What do you know about black forces? This man right here can throw down. So I want him in my corner. Well, you're throwing up the L. You could see it, Jared. You could see it. What's the song? I know you see it. I know you see it. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I know you see it. Maybe the L stands for Lambo, which is also the car that Texas is promising you, but actually will not give you, but they'll show it off. Okay. Let me say this. I want DeCorian Moore to enjoy his recruitment. I don't want LSU fans bullying him because he was committed and now he's back with us. We're back in the orbit, but now he's back visiting Texas. There's so many things in play here. There's high school allegiances, teammates that he's played with. One went to Texas last year in Colin Simmons, who I think is going to be really good. And another, Caden Durham. I don't need to say anything else about him. Going to LSU. I talk about him every live stream, it seems like. But the truth here is, well, there's a lot, okay? Family members want you to go one place. You might want to go somewhere other. It's tough. It's tough. If DeCorian Moore was watching this, here's what I would tell you. Grandma went on the visit. Or at least I think that's grandma. I'm assuming. Listen to her. Whatever grandmas will never steer you wrong. Any one of y'all know this. All right. Go where she tells you to go. Ask her. And go where she says to go. But go where she says to go and go where you feel like you need to go. But yeah, it's not worth tweeting at him or anything. I am also wanting to be clear. I'm not bullying the kid. All right. I just found it funny that he held up the L. Okay. That kid's probably going to be a 5-star as well. But yeah, I've been very complimentary of Texas. Very complimentary of what they have built. They are my number 2 team in college football going into next year. But I do find it funny. The brand is strong. The brand is strong. Now, I'll go back to what I've said about Decorian Moore. What's up, Doug? Talked to Doug a little bit yesterday. That's my buddy. Throw it to else. All right. Yeah, all he did was decommit. Like I said, Decorian Moore, you do what you want to do. But it is an objective fact that one school has produced wide receivers at an extremely high level. And I understand Texas just had A.D. Mitchell, but he was a one-year transfer. And his initial developer is at LSU. And they have Xavier Worthy. That was a kid that Texas developed. I drafted Xavier Worthy in my Dynasty League. I'm drafting him a lot in Underdog fantasy drafts. I've done over 100 drafts on Underdog already this offseason. I'm grabbing a lot of Xavier Worthy. I think it's going to be really good. I do. With the Chiefs. Kind of hard to not be good, even though they've had a lot of bust at the wide receiver position. The truth is I think you should go to LSU if you want to be a wide receiver. Jared, thank you for the super chat. You get to pick the next topic. I also got to talk to Jared on the phone on the ride back yesterday. So a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Now, next thing. All right. You guys know, I am the most open book when it comes to being an LSU fan. As you guys know, I am an absolutely ginormous LSU fan, like many of you. But I've opened up this platform, and my goal in starting this channel is optimistically, while also truthfully, talking about this team that we love. A fanalist slant with objectivity. I feel like that type of analysis is the analysis of the future. All right. I think it's the best type of analysis. You're open with where your allegiances lie, but you're also open with your conversations about the team. So I am open when it comes to fandom. The only currency we all have equally is time. We all have the same amount of time every single day. So if you spend time watching me, consuming LSU content, if you don't consume any LSU content, but you only watch your games, you could be whatever kind of fan you want. You could be a casual if you want. I won't value your opinion as much if you're a casual, but you could be a casual. The one thing you cannot do, though, is sacrifice everyone for the sake of your own, I didn't say that smoothly at all, for the sake of your own ego. And what do I mean by that? This didn't happen with LSU, but this happened last night, Florida versus Texas A&M. Now, I was talking to Doug on the phone yesterday when I was driving back, and I normally call a bunch of PHLers that have been rocking with me, that have donated a lot of money to the channel, and I always check in guys that have been rocking with me for years. So I talked to Cliff on the way back. I talked to Jared. I talked to Doug. I talked to a few other patrons. I was able to talk to LA Mom this weekend over the phone. It really was great getting to interact with so many PHLers. And Doug and I had an intense debate, and I hope Doug is still in here. Intense debate about who I wanted to see lose more, Texas A&M or Florida. And I have always said Florida. Florida is the school I hate the most. I hate Florida so much. But whatever those two Texas A&M fans said to the Florida Gator dugout, to where the Omaha police had to get involved and escort these people out. And there's allegations that they were talking about the bat boy that died or whatever. That made all Texas A&M fans look bad. The Texas A&M baseball coach, Jim Schlossnagle, started his press conference apologizing for those two fans. Now, I haven't seen video. I've seen photos of these two goobers. And I'm just saying, LSU fans, don't do that. Don't do that. You can jump on my channel and talk as much trash as you want. Now, if you go over the line, I'm going to block you. But do not make the brand look bad. Thank you so much, sweetheart. I do appreciate that. Do not make the brand look bad. Don't do it. All right, goes along with Garrett Nussmeier's thing. Well, what he said earlier, and we'll replay the clip in a second. In the grand scheme of things, if you're critical of Brian Kelly, it really doesn't matter. Okay, because that comes with being a football coach. You're going to get criticized. But don't be an ass. And everyone should know what being an ass looks like. Don't do that. All right? It's a good example of what not to do. So, Doug and I was on the side of Florida. I wanted Florida to lose so bad. But Doug was like, no, Carter, you should hate Texas A&M more. You should hate Texas A&M more. And Doug, you won. Once I saw what those Texas A&M fans were doing, I was like, God dog it, I'm cheering for Florida. And the funny thing about it is I still don't know who won the game. I've not been able to watch any College World Series. I still don't know. I still don't know who won or lost the game. So your stupid actions outweighed the entire game. Don't be a dumbass if you're going to an LSU game. If you want to talk trash to the right fielder, sure. You want to talk trash to another fan, sure. But don't get escorted by police and make the entire team look bad to where the opposing coach stopped what he had to do to talk about it. And Texas A&M won. So I am happy Florida lost. I do hate Florida more than Texas A&M. But I feel bad for the Florida team because obviously it was over the line. Okay? Hey, what's up, BT? I got to meet BT over the weekend. Good to see you. Lots of PHL legends in here. Paris. Good to see Paris in here. Paris is a PHL OG. I will meet Paris in Vegas because she says she's going. So Jared's going. Doug actually called me yesterday to tell me he's not going. Because Doug's good friend decided to go get married in New Mexico. Now, who the hell wants to go get married in New Mexico? Why would you get married in New Mexico? Is Walter White officiating the wedding? What the hell is there in New Mexico? Meth and UFC fighters. What else? I'm kidding. I did some comedy stops there many years ago. One of the craziest shows I've done. I did a show in the tiniest basement I have ever seen. It was 40 people. It was definitely a fire hazard. I think I saw photos of it. Comedy is meant to be in a basement, though. The best comedy clubs are where you walk downstairs instead of when you walk upstairs. I'm serious. Everybody, welcome David to the channel. He wants to talk some Monster Milam. Oh, Bregman and Milam. What did I say about What did I say about Alex? What did I say at Alex Bregman? What did I say about Alex Bregman? Oh, is Alex Bregman going to Vegas? Breggy Bombs, the legend. Let's go, Breggy. And LSU number 8, baby. Let's go. I know that song is stuck in my head in there. Oh, Bragg. Oh, from New Mexico. Oh, okay. See, I got them. Milam, I was like, okay, Milam is from New Mexico. One of our top PHLers, Jordan Haddad, he's not in here. He lives in New Mexico. New Mexico's actually a good state. But one of our top PHLers, Doug, isn't going to be able to go to the PHL Vegas meetup. Because he has to go to a wedding in New Mexico. Are you talking about Jonah Williams? Well, since Paris is here, we'll talk about him. All right, this is what I will tell you about this young man. All right. This is the only bit of intel I will give you. All right. We talked about our recruiting a little bit earlier, but this is the only thing I know for certain. Is obviously, these RPMs don't look good for LSU, but what I can tell you about Jonah Williams is Charles Ross, who shut it down today. He said he's not making any more official visits. He's going to LSU. Charles Ross is friends with Jonah Williams. So that always helps. What I have always believed is sometimes the other players that are in the recruiting class are your most important recruiters for certain players, right? So I don't know about chances, but there you go. Okay, I get it now. I didn't know Alex Bregman was New Mexico. I really didn't. I always thought it was Texas for some reason. So good baseball players come out of New Mexico. Great. Good to know. Cameron, I love the last name. Cameron released 10 and 2. Okay, Bears. Are we partaking? I remember calling my wife. I got high in Vegas. The first time I've ever been high was actually in Vegas. Roughly 2.5 years ago. I never smoked or did anything in college. Crazy story. Don't. And boy, was dude, that is not the place to do it. That is not the place. And I it was 3 a.m. I called her 5 times. Okay. 5 times at 3. She was not picking up. And I was giggling, like just non-freaking stop. All right, because I was on a bachelor's trip, and it was just one gummy. It was a bachelor's trip, and we're all piled in one room, and they said you're just the craziest thing that they lie to you about. The craziest thing they lie to you about by getting high, all right, is you're just going to go to sleep. It calms you down. It helps you go to sleep, which sometimes it does. Okay. Sometimes it does. All right. But it could also have the opposite effect. It could keep you laughing. So this is what happened. So I called my buddy JC and I blamed him because he was the one that gave me one of the most potent gummies. He was like, "Oh, you'll be able to handle it." I could not handle it. And he was like, "Okay, watch something boring." So I was like, I couldn't think of anything boring. So I got on YouTube and I literally typed in Tim Duncan highlights. And it was just a bunch of bank shots. And it was so boring that I couldn't quit laughing. I was like, Tim Duncan really was just the most ordinary superstar of all time. Like, Boris Diaw has a better mixtape than Tim Duncan. So I didn't do the trick. So I called JC again and I said, "Hey, I need you to tell me something else." And he was like, "Okay, watch something that makes you very happy." All right. I watched it and I was like, "All right." So literally when I am down and I am out and I am sad, the thing I search immediately is Tyrann Mathieu highlights. And that was not the right thing to do. It made me laugh even harder. Like I get an out of body experience watching his LSU highlights now, sober. But could you imagine going up to someone that's high as a kite and they've never seen Tyrann Mathieu highlights? Could you imagine the trip you would be on? And I have like pretty much every play he made memorized. And I couldn't quit laughing. I started just bawling out laughing. Just even the Kentucky film is that transcendent. So yeah, that's basically it. So I stayed up all night and didn't sleep. I messed up my booking on the flight. I was supposed to fly out midnight, red eye back home. It was actually red eye the next day. So I had to stay up 24 hours, make my flight. I was able to go to a Vegas Knights hockey game, which was great. Even though I hate hockey. Oh, you got to go see it live. I did. And it was great, but don't need to do it again. But yeah, that's it. So Paris is the plug in Vegas. She's going to be the one getting our stash for the PHL get together. I'm kidding. This will be a drug-free is the way to be. We're going to have the DARE dog there, the dare dog. If you went to elementary school around the time I did, you know what I'm talking about. Drug-free is the way. We're going to have the dare dog. We're also going to have Smokey the Bear there, because who better to tell you to not burn trees? Dad joke for you dads on Father's Day. Don't smoke weed. It'll help you prevent forest fires. But anyway, shout out to Smokey the Bear. But yes. Let me see here. Oh, Smokey Bear. Oh, I'm sorry for putting the in there, Chance. Did not mean to get the Smokey fan club all out of whack today. Let's see here. As Willie Nelson says, the world has gone to pot. The world's gone to hell, and I sure will miss it a lot. I always count on Sibley to get the Willie reference in. Scott V. Steve? Okay, the dope Dax. I'm down. That would be crazy. A daiquiri that gets you high. Does that exist? I mean, I think we have a few daiquiri experts in there. I think I see Pierce in here. Good to see you. Chance wants to talk some LSU baseball. They did. Man, if you would have told me before this season began, all right, if you would have told me before the season began, Chance, that LSU would be going to Indiana State, not Indiana, not the Hoosiers. And we're not even talking about Purdue. You talk about New Mexico. There's nothing that's come from Indiana State Sycamore University since Larry Bird. And I know their team lost to the finals of the NIT this year, but man, a slugger and a pitcher from Indiana State. So you would be getting your transfers from Indiana State and Wofford. That's cool. That's really, really, really cool. Now, there's a piece of me that says, hey, it sucks that the current state of athletics has all the mid-majors losing their best players to the Division I Power 5 level. That does suck. It really does. But so be it. It's just how the rules are now. You are the minor leagues for the real teams, basically. So, I'm excited about the portal, and Jay Johnson is rebuilding this roster. I think it's eating him up that it's all SEC teams in the College World Series, and he got beat by an ACC team. Now, it was a good ACC team. But, yeah, I've really not watched hardly any College World Series action. I did find it hilarious, though. Peyton Manning was doing an interview, and that guy behind him put the biggest dip. I don't know why we're talking about these things tonight, but it's Sunday night. Get weird. That's okay. He put the biggest dip in his mouth I've ever seen. During a Peyton Manning interview. Peyton is pure comedy, man. It is a good opportunity, Scott. And if college athletics is truly about the players, we should be excited for the players to have these opportunities. Jared said the only edible I've had to was some Wait, are you saying that exists? Oh, I gotta write this down. I'm George Straighten this right now. Baby, write this down. This exists? What? What? That would be one way. That would be one way. Okay, edible as in you can eat boudin. No, I get that. But Jared likes all kinds of food. That's why I thought, I was like, well, all right. So Jared was, I was like, that would be crazy. But there's weed everything now. There's weed everything. There's weed chapstick. One of y'all sent this to me. Josh Pate ranked his loudest college football stadiums, and LSU was number 1 on his list. Obviously, loud is very subjective. Okay, loud is very subjective. LSU does get loud. It just does. They all, for the most part, get loud. Obviously, November 5th, 2011 was very loud. Definitely one of the best game atmospheres I've ever been to. But what I would say about Tuscaloosa that night was that game felt like a Super Bowl already. It felt like a national championship game already. So I don't know. That game was so different than so many other SEC games just because of how hyped it was. But really the loudest was Mason Taylor 2-point conversion. And it was just insane. Absolute insanity. So, yeah, I mean, every SEC stadium I have been to has had a good atmosphere. All right. Some not as good as others. Some are clearly better basketball, baseball schools. So, like Arkansas, great football stadium, nice football stadium. It's a basketball school, right? Let's see. I enjoy going to Jordan-Hare. I really do. I've enjoyed my times in Bryant-Denny. I have. Now, I don't think I've been to an SEC road game in a while. So there you go. Kentucky, basketball school. And Jared, you went to a game where we got our asses kicked. We've never played well versus Kentucky in Kentucky. And we had some weird games. Obviously, Marcus Randall and then Andre Woodson, 07. Stevie Johnson. That guy was great. That guy's a very underrated football player. And, what happened a few years ago with Coach O, Kayshawn breaking his ankle, sucked. Okay. That's a good one, actually, Jay Madison. All right, I'll give you 2. All right, so the J.C. Copeland run, that's a great one. The loudest I've heard Tiger Stadium outside of the Mason Taylor play was when they announced during the LSU Florida game that USC lost. I don't know why it got so loud in Tiger Stadium when they announced USC lost. I think part of it was we weren't quite in the smartphone era, so no one really knew. But there was a break in the game where they said USC lost. And LSU Florida, definitely one of the loudest atmospheres I've ever been to. And it goes back to why I miss Tim Tebow so much. Yeah, he got the better of us more times than not. But for whatever reason, that dude brought out a visceral hatred from opposing fans. I don't know why. I spent some time with my roommate this weekend, and we both recalled when LSU fans got a hold of Tim Tebow's phone number. And they filled his message box. Now, Florida was definitely the most intimidating place, which is why I hate them so much. Frozen corn dogs thrown at me and my friends. That was around the "Don't Tase Me, Bro" time. That was a very, very visceral weekend. Very. It is what it is. I can't get on the Florida bandwagon. It's tough for me to like them. And I grew up liking Chris Leak and Florida and their dominance in my adolescence, but man. Read more on this recruiting stuff. Very interesting. So it's Tennessee's year, right? Jordan, we talked about you. We talked about New Mexico a little bit earlier. You missed it. So you called it too, Jerry. I did too. I mean, everybody was. I don't know if we'll ever have a college football star bigger than him. I really don't know. I mean, the guy was the biggest star for 3 years in a row, basically. I mean, and the crazy thing was he became a star so quickly. Like he was, just a role player on that national championship team. And then it just kind of grew into its own thing, like his very first year. And I think part of it was because he was so bold. He loved the cameras. He loved all of that. And he's very unorthodox. His quarterbacking style, if there was a silhouette of Tim Tebow playing college football, you knew exactly who he was. He had a very unique playing style. And he probably had the best college football career of all time. Probably. It's definitely up there. The jorts. Yeah, that's the only one, Jay Madison, that really, as far as like phenomena is concerned, obviously Burrow and Newton surpassed him, but that was a single season thing, right? Manziel was a 2-year thing. The only difference is Tebow was, essentially 4 years, right? 3 years as the biggest star. And, I remember something along the likes of he wore John 3:16 on his eye black. And after the SEC championship game, they said there was, like 9 million Google searches for John 3:16. Like, it's the most recited Bible verse, and it's still, people are still Googling it. Like, it was insane, man. It felt it felt prophetic, if you will. But that's the one thing I will say, it's a little bit different, is I felt, and I know this is a completely different thing, I've never watched the Florida documentary on Netflix because there's so many bad reviews on it, and it's going to let me down. I thought the Johnny Manziel documentary on Netflix was really good. I thought it was really, really, really good. With a semi-controversial ending, but see it for yourself. I've not watched a Florida documentary. A lot of people are pissed off with it, and I do not want to get pissed off. I feel documentaries are better done by someone that doesn't have too much editorial control. So there you go. James says Tebow was overhyped. Very good player with all-time talented teammates. I agree to a certain extent. I do. We learned Percy Harvin was really good in the NFL. Aaron Hernandez really good in the NFL. Carlos Dunlap really good in the NFL. So a lot of those guys, turned out to be very good. But Tebow was great. He just was. Overhyped. I mean, I think anyone that got the hype and attention he got was always going to be overdoing it. Yeah, the Pouncey twins. Was that the Jeff Demps? Yeah, I mean, his skill guys were so fast. That's probably the fastest set of skill guys ever put together. And an all-time great coach. Urban is the second best coach of this era. Now, let's see, what else? We go on different tangents. What's the other LSU thing? Oh. I want to play this again for those that missed it earlier. A few of you wanted me to replay it, so here we go.
For me, what it means to be at LSU, it means everything. As most of y'all know, I grew up moving around a lot, so I was always around kind of the college football world, and the brand of LSU is something that's almost indescribable. If you think about the entire population of this entire state, and most kids, literally from ages 8 to 16 across the entire country, every single one of them at every single position that we all play want to be in this room. They want to be in our meetings. They want to be with us when we lift. So when you approach each rep, when you approach each set, when you approach each meeting, do that shit the right way, because 1, somebody will try to replace you, and 2, these coaches will replace you. That's what it means. To be here, you have this gift, this opportunity. This is not a, it's not given. This is a privilege, Like, we get an opportunity to play for LSU. LSU is going to be here a long time after us, and it's been here a long time before us. It's what you want to do with your opportunity to be a part of this program.
All right. So before we get to that, I did get a chance over the weekend to meet BT, Brian, who's in the chat. I appreciate him coming to hang out for a little bit and coming to help yours truly at the wedding. Here's Brian and Chuck Cliff. Had a great time. And I did not get these two guys' names. They say they watch the channel, so thank you for coming by the booth for a little bit. And most importantly, they're not in here right now, but the bride and groom, I appreciate them. Trust me, and that's TJ Reed. A lot of you have seen TJ in the chat. I really, really, really do appreciate them. Now, I love it. I appreciate all the viewers that came. They're like, "Wow, that's the guy who's the thing," and he playing the music, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And I would love to do your DJ wedding. I'll go anywhere in Louisiana. I'll DJ any party. It doesn't have to be a wedding either. It could be a anniversary, anything. Not in June though. I'm booked the rest of June, but yeah, already booking 2025. Let's do it. Jared says he can't take nuts seriously in the half tank top. As many of you know, that's the actual. That actually, Jared. Now that you mention it, let's just say no one really ever watched LSU football players train. I think a lot of LSU fans just helicopter in and be like, "Okay, that's good, but why are you wearing a sports bra?" So for those that don't know, that is the catapult tracking technology. So you wear that, and the analytics, nutrition, and all those people, they use that data to see how fast you're running, what is your maximum speed, do you need a rest day, do we need to change your diet? I mean, it is so scientific now. They got all kinds of algorithms and fancy stuff. So Catapult's been around for, a few years now. Catapult, is it Capapult? Whatever the technology is, apparently pretty good. And yeah, that's what that was. Now, tell your cup. Justin said he had some frat bros that played against him in high school. That's true. LSU never lost to Johnny Manziel. In fact, Johnny's 2 worst games were against LSU. It's just so wild. So freaking wild. Fun fact, Derek Jeter was at that one in Tiger Stadium. Okay. I don't know if I want to actually specifically name this hotel. All right. So when I get booked to do something out of town, if it is a far distance, obviously, I need a place to stay. And I have family and stuff like that in Louisiana I could stay with, but weddings go late. And, I go set up early, go home, take a shower, put together, a few playlists, run the hotel room. It's just easier to have a hotel room where you can get things together. All right. But I want to share this. Be very careful if you book a hotel room in Gonzales, Louisiana. I have, for the most part of my life, have had good hotel experiences. Even in cheap rinky-dink hotels, I have had good luck. All right. But my rule of thumb is, if you're paying, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Now, Sibley, he stays at only the nicest hotels. But if I'm paying over $125 for a hotel room, I expect it to be good. Anywhere from 50, anything under 100, I'll give you some wiggle room. Okay? I will give you some wiggle room. But 125 and up, no, can't do that. I expect something good. So I go in and take the first room that they give me in the first floor. So I go in, set up all the DJ stuff. I have to go take a quick shower, get right back to the venue. Open up the shower mat. There's hair in it, all kinds of hair. And the shower was still wet. It was still wet. There were some stains and all kinds of stuff. And I didn't really have time. I mean, I had to take a shower. So I went and changed. I had to take the shower mat to the front desk, holding it. And then they give me a new shower mat. It's the tiniest shower mat. So I'm take a quick shower, get dressed. I was like, hey, can I have a new room? Because it's just nasty. So they then give me a new room. And I wasn't really able to check the new room because I was rushing back to the venue. I get back from the wedding. New room's worse than the old room. So two different rooms. This one had a dead moth. I go into the shower. I'm taking a shower to the venue. I'm butt naked, dangling like a participle. And I go in and take a shower. There is a hanger. All right, it's a second dirty shower. Just a hanger. It looks like a hanger from the 1950s. Why is there a hanger on the shower? Why would anyone put a hanger on the shower? There's one thing a hotel room never has a shortage of is hooks for you to hang stuff on. Just the nastiest hanger. And then I go to sleep. I'm next to the freaking interstate. It felt like people were clogging. It was doo-doo. The worst. The absolute freaking worst. Two different rooms. So I'm just saying, I won't say the name of the hotel. Staff was nice. But be careful. Always be careful booking any hotel room too close to the interstate. You're going to hear that shit. Or it could just be that I was in the absolute worst hotel I've ever stayed in, over $100. It was that bad. It was really that bad. But it would be one thing if it was just one room. And there were some other things I am not allowed to say that I saw in that room. The second room, that is. No, it was not Motel 6. Dude, and like I said, if I'm booking a Motel 6 and it sucks, I will live with the results. I will, because it's a $60 room, right? I think that's about their rates. And most Motel 6, and then this is another thing. Every hotel room, all right, every hotel I am able to walk inside and the rooms aren't available to the public. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to be inside the residence to get inside your room. An outdoor facing room that any Joe Schmo could just walk up to, you can get murdered at any second. You can get murdered. But this was a hotel that you needed a room key to get in the door past midnight. Or at least I thought you did. It said on there, but no, the doors were just wide open. So be careful booking hotel rooms in Gonzales and Geismar. And I hate it for the other hotels in that region to feel the wrath of this, but just be very careful. Because I'm sure not all the hotels in that region suck. It was just this one, 2 separate rooms. But I will say, there are, and this, I can't say specifically what the stain was, but I walk in, there's like one little chair, like one little soft, like cushiony chair. All right. And on that chair, there was a stain on the chair. And I won't say what kind of stain it was, but it was that kind of stain. I'm not allowed to say what kind of stain it was. It is the worst kind of stain, though, that you could see on another thing, anything. I'll leave it at that. But I want to ask you guys, am I wrong? Am I in the wrong here? Am I being too diva-ish? I documented all of it. I've never left a review on any site. I don't want to be that Yelp guy. Everyone knows that Yelp guy. But Pegasus did say I'm rocking a dad fit. Bought some new shoes, running shoes this weekend. They are New Balance, so I might be turning into a dad. I don't know it. I should have taken the chair down to the desk. I will say this. I have a photo of the chair. I can't say aloud what kind of stain it was, but if we get a $50 super chat, I will post a photo of the stain, and I'll let you draw your own conclusions. I will let you draw your own conclusion. We get a $50 super, and that would be a third of what I paid for to stay in the room. Now, the bride and groom, full disclosure, TJ, covered my hotel because TJ's a great guy. But, you know, he gave me the money. He's like, hey, book whatever room you want. Booked one within a decent distance. I just know I'm staying in Baton Rouge. I am staying in Baton Rouge for the end of eternity. I should got the cell phone belt clip. The bed sheets weren't crunchy, but the pillows were tiny. I felt like they legit wrapped some napkins and put it together as a pillow. The worst thing. The worst thing, man. Also, I'll show you this. I took a photo of this. Because it was so loud, I actually slept with my headphones on. Like I had to put my DJ and PHL headphones on. I don't wear them all the time on here. I slept with headphones on because it was so loud. It was so close to the interstate. It was a But if y'all want to see the stain, I've gotten a few texts. Carter post a photo. If we get $50 in supers, I will post the stain. Now, I'll reiterate what I said about Garrett Nussmeier's speech from earlier. I loved how direct he was to the team, right? It is a tough message when a fellow player tells you, hey, LSU will be here before and LSU will be here after you're here. You should be very fortunate that you are here. And I get it. It makes a lot of sense. You know, the one thing I really like about that, hearing that from a player, is a coach really can't say that nowadays. Like, you really can't. Like, coaches are afraid of saying anything to the player that's not like outside of, hey, you really got to work to earn your spot. Every single coach in the history of mankind says that to every player. But a coach really can't say, hey, you should be lucky to be here. Hey, we're going to be here before and after you. But for a player to say that's powerful. For a player to say it, it's powerful. It's tough for Brian Kelly to say. Now, he could say it, and it probably would resonate with a good number of the team. But for a player to say that, that really puts the team mentality out there. I own a pair of Hokas as well, James. I love. Actually, I've not necessarily enjoyed running in Hokas, but I do love like them as like everyday shoes, and I do wear them quite a bit. My aunt does as well. Train tracks. Oh, dude, it's brutal. You gotta have some strong ass melatonin, man. James says, watching highlights on YouTube from 2019 LSU Alabama still leaves you in awe. It should. I mean, there's so many good players. And you can make a strong case that was Nick Saban's most talented team. It is ridiculous how good Alabama's 2017 recruiting class was. The only difference was LSU's 2017 recruiting class was better. It's close. So, I mean, Alabama had 10 top 75 players in that class, and all 10 of them hit. All 10 of them hit, and 9 of them exceeded expectations. The only one that didn't was LeBron Ray, and he was injured. He got hurt. So the other 9 were ridiculous. They were unfreaking real. That was Tua. That was Jedrick Wills. That was Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs. And all those guys exceeded expectation. I mean, Saban put together, that was just ridiculous. To have 10 top 75 guys in the class is nuts. And to have all of them hit. And, we talk about this in recruiting all the time. The best year for every recruiting class is year 3. Because all your best players have to be there in year 3. And, man, LSU beating the Alabama, I mean, they were so talented. That wasn't Saban's best team because defensively they were lacking. But that's just crazy. You would think one of them would bust. One of them would bust. But no. They were all really freaking good. They're all really freaking good. Now, here's what we're going to do. In the next 10 to 15 minutes, we'll keep this party going once again. First $25 super chat will get this Drew Brees Silver Prism card in the mail. But feel free to fire in your questions. Anything under the sun. Midnight Train. We almost played that one this weekend. I sometimes squeeze that one in. It's a little classic, bro. Classic. I played this song at TJ's wedding this weekend as well. The song meant a lot to him. And he texted me the night before saying, "Hey, will you make sure you play this song?" So, I'm a pretty open DJ, especially when the bride and groom text you. And TJ was like very apologetic. Hey, I know this is less than 24 hours. And he texted me at the end of the Thursday night live stream from Auntie's house. And he was like, man, my favorite song is not his favorite song, but his brother-in-law, Chris. He said, will you please make sure you play Dreams and Nightmares from Meek Mill? I was like, wow, okay. And place went crazy for Dreams and Nightmares. That's a tough. It's not a really good wedding song. All right, it's just. I mean, it's a good song. I know to not get on Meek Mill's fans' bad side. But that song's got a long lead up. But that song, man. Hold on, wait a minute. No, James, I'm not disagreeing with you. It's just not. That song is a better listen song than it is, and get hype song than it is like a dancing song, if you get what I'm saying. Place went crazy though. TJ went crazy. Got the card. Congrats, Sharon. You deserve it. You're one of our 2 pristine super chatters tonight. You and Javon. I want to talk some USC, which we did earlier. Let's see. Big shout out again, nooffseason.com, nooffseason.com network. Yeah, Donald, we're working on that, man. Better song, better set it off song. Boosie. To be honest, and it could just be that I only do Southern weddings. But Boosie has never whiffed on a dance floor. It's just never. And TJ is a huge Boosie fan. So, I always try to make sure I play Set It Off and Wipe Me Down. All right. But TJ wanted Ratchet. Well, actually, no, we did play Ratchet. And then he really wanted Crazy. All right. And if you're a real Boosie fan, Crazy goes crazy pretty quickly. It's a pretty jarring song at the very beginning. But I would, and it could just be I'm biased, Bootsy, friend of the channel. But he definitely gets the dance floor going more than any other artist I play. All right. Brick House is very common. Brick House I normally play pretty early. But normally, like throughout the evening, you're just reading the dance floor. Honestly, it's just how you expect the season to go, or how you expect the evening to go is not how the evening will go. So you got to be willing to adapt. Dev says Nuss 37-60, 34 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Let's take a look at the poll question. We not actually looked at the poll question just yet. Nuss will throw for 4,000 yards. All right. Now, as far as the 4,000 yards are concerned, there was not a single SEC quarterback last year that threw for 4,000 yards. Now, Jaden would have, but he was such an effective runner. He didn't need to throw it as much, and he also didn't play the bowl game. So if he played the bowl game, he would have gotten there. The year before, there was 2 SEC quarterbacks hit 4,000. That was Bryce and Will Rogers. But this would be an insane year, Dev. I mean, that stat line would get him to New York City, or pretty damn close to it if he had that. It would depend on his rushing. If he had some rushing, like it's say 200, 300 yards with that, then yeah, he's definitely going to be in New York City. And if the team is like 10-2. Now, if Nuss's numbers are this and the defense is okay, LSU is probably a 9-3, 10-2 team. So, but yeah, I don't know. I'll ask you guys this. The wedding DJ, and I wouldn't necessarily call myself like a wedding DJ. It is the thing I do the most of. But yeah, let's see. My next 3 events, one is a wedding. One's a wedding. Brick House will make everything. Brick House is definitely in my top 10. There's only like a good bit of songs that I will for sure play, and that one's normally in that. But what is your go-to? What song do you like the most at weddings? Honestly, the 2 genres that do really well outside of like the primetime era, which is out like if a wedding reception starts at 7, it's roughly around like 9:15, 9:30 when the dance floor is really popping. So I'm playing a lot of fast 120 BPM kind of stuff. But I mix it up. Try to mix it up. Like she was a big Kelsey Ballerini fan. Like the bride was a huge Kelsey Ballerini fan. So I know Kelsey Ballerini. She was breaking out when I was breaking into the country industry. So I like Kelsey Ballerini. Like I know some of her stuff, but there was a deeper cut song that she wanted to make sure to be played. So most people didn't know the song. And that's fine. If the bride wants that to be played, it's going to be played. It's just how it works. And so I had to mix it. And I'm not Jazzy Jeff. This is not Steve Aoki sitting here or Nick Spinelli. So I mixed it with some Nelly, and I think it sounded okay. They liked it. I don't know if the dance floor is going to be popping to Kelsey Ballerini for that long. But yeah, I love Pitbull, yeah, Pitbull. I don't think I played a Pitbull song this weekend. Pitbull's pretty good too. Pitbull's definitely up there. But I don't know if I've ever done a Southern wedding where Boosie was not played. The most popular slow dance song for me at weddings, and I play it at most of them, is Tennessee Whiskey by Chris Stapleton. I play that more often than I try to do quite a few slow songs at a wedding. But Tennessee Whiskey gets people into a mood like few songs really can. Sibley says Nuts can also run. We'll see. He's not really proven the scramble game just yet, but he can. Yeah, he can. Brandon says no way Nuts gets to 4K with Jackson, Emery, and Williams. Yeah, Brandon, it honestly comes down to the defense. So let's take LSU last year. Jaden didn't throw for 4,000 yards, but in essence, he really did throw for 4,000 yards. Because really a scramble isn't a run play. It's a drop back, right? So if the defense stinks and Garrett Nussmeier is very good, he will throw for 4,000 yards, right? So as maybe I play a lot of fantasy football, do a lot of drafts on Underdog. Sign up now, promo code Carter. You get a deposit match bonus, all the good stuff. One thing that the fantasy analysts have figured out, that the best thing for you to have good numbers is having a bad defense, right? If you have, like this past year, Patrick Mahomes had his worst statistical year ever. Now, a lot of it had to do with his wide receivers not being really that good at all. But he also had a really good defense. Chris Jones, L'Jarius Sneed, Justin Reed, their defense was really good. And he didn't need to be a shootout quarterback this past year. I mean, look at the Super Bowl run. I mean, none of those games were offensive, masterful showcases. Now, he was really good in those games. But, if you have a good defense, you don't have to be as good or you have to be as prolific. If your defense is terrible, it helps your numbers. Now, two things can be true at once. Jaden was unfreaking believably prolific, and he was also helped out by the defense sucking, right? Dev says he reminds him of Baker Mayfield. Yeah, Carson Beck was the SEC leading passer in terms of yards. He was practically at 4K, so. And he probably would have been if Georgia's defense was terrible. Brandon says, when Nuts had to switch to that double-digit number, it weighed him down a little bit. It's true. Huh? A single-digit, man, it's prime real estate. It's prime real estate. LSU has had a good number 13 quarterback before. I believe Tommy Hodson wore that jersey number. Sibley could correct me on that. Oh, man. Two of my favorite fellow content creators. Glad to call both of these guys my friends. Hold the Mayo, Snow Like John, had T-Bob on his podcast, and he just informed, I have his tweets on alerts, that the audio file corrupted. It's happened to me before. There's nothing worse when you record an epic interview and the audio corrupts. It screws up. It's happened before. Actually happened with my Trey Holly interview. Those things suck. It sucks when that happens. So Graylin, yeah, Tommy Hudson, we're number 13. Yeah, there you go. Other great 13s, John Trey Kirkland. The GOAT 13 is Ron Brooks, friend of the channel. Lots of others. All right, here's Pegasus. Carter, I have a random question. How come at the end of games for Hail Marys, when the D has everyone back in the end zone, teams don't run a screen to get a guy with, okay, so the water boy ending, basically. Spoiler alert. Nah, it wasn't really a screen, but whatever. Yeah, so this is actually something, Pegasus, that I spend an ungodly amount of time on, is watching Hail Marys, right? Like, so when Andy Staples was on here I can't believe it's been like a month and a half since the Dominic Williams Oklahoma mess. And a lot of LSU Twitter hating me and all, it's whatever. But, and hate's a strong word, but whatever. What was really strange is like Hail Mary defense. The play that pisses me off more than any freaking play I can remember is Alabama versus Auburn. I remember it's clear as day. I remember that game. And I have no idea why Auburn only rushed 3 versus a very athletic quarterback. And the crazy thing is Jalen Milroe was able to complete this pass from the pocket to Isaiah Bond, and it was essentially just a one-on-one play. It wasn't even a Hail Mary. It is so dumb to only rush 3 on any Hail Mary. And what's funny was Tennessee had the perfect blueprint to stop an Alabama Hail Mary. You blitz your corners because your offensive lineman can't get out there. And obviously in a regular down and distance, you can't just blitz your corners every time because they'll like you said, just screen you to death. But it's a longer developing play, and a quarterback for a Hail Mary can't outrun corners for that long of a time. Even guys as athletic as Jalen Milroe and Jaden Daniels. I would prefer corners to run them down instead of, defensive tackle, defensive end. So it drives me crazy when Hail Marys are rush 3 situations. You should never rush 3. You should be providing some type of edge pressure. Another good thing about providing corner pressure is a lot of Hail Marys are done from a quarterback rolling out and buying some time. I bring up the Zion Alexander Hail Mary that he got hurt on, and that is probably out of all plays last year, the one that pissed me off the most outside of the Denver Harris missed tackle versus Ole Miss. That play pissed me off more than any other because we allowed the quarterback to easily break contain and step into a right-handed throw to the right side of the field. That is the last thing you want to do. You want to keep them in the pocket, and you want to do something exotic. Part of letting off a Hail Mary is you knowing where the rushers are coming from. It makes it that much easier. If you do something exotic and give them something else, it makes it that much harder to complete a longer developing play. Now, should more teams do the screen thing, partially it comes down to how long the Hail Mary actually is. So if you were to run just like a little quick screen, do I really want a whole lot of offensive linemen out in front of my screener? I'm not sure if I do on a Hail Mary, because those guys can get in the way, and there would be some defensive linemen that would be able to run that down from the backside. Also, some defensive linemen on a Hail Mary aren't rushing, so it's a little bit easier for a defensive lineman to redirect and catch it from the back on running a screen versus a Hail Mary. But if you do see a blitz, I would, like, for instance, if for some reason, what I would do, if more teams do what I would do defensively, which is blitz your corners, I would have an alert for my X to turn around and be ready for a catch, right? Just stop short. Because most Hail Marys have 3 wide receivers to one side of the formation and 1 to the other. And then you have 2 lead blockers versus, if you're blitzing your corners, you probably have 4 or 5 guys back there that you have to miss at maximum. So yeah, if there's a Hail Mary, I'm blitzing my corners defensively. And offensively, I would look into doing a screen and seeing what could happen. But yeah, there's a lot of different variations of final plays that I would do. Now, LSU has had their fair share of chaotic Hail Marys. And obviously you talked about Marcus Randall a little bit earlier. One that will always piss me off is that Florida game before halftime. That was one of the worst Hail Marys I've ever seen completed, and we let it be completed. One underrated Hail Mary defense where we didn't blitz was Tim Tebow at the end of that LSU Florida game, the voicemail game that we were talking about earlier, Jared. Chad Jones made a really good pass deflection, knocked it straight down, and that was true freshman Chad Jones. So yeah, there is a science to Hail Mary defense. You just got to knock that bitch down. Got to knock it down. But there's so many different caroms and stuff that you have to prepare for. But the one thing I don't want to let happen is my quarterback to not feel some type of pressure. Now we had another Angel, Reese Caitlin Clark. Oh, man. The hard foul. Love it. And I like Caitlin. And obviously, Angel's one of my favorites. So good. So good. And Angel just publicly admitted that she does not mind being the villain. It's so good for sports. So good for sports. Exactly. What's up, Portland? It's just good. It's good. But I think that'll do it for me. We'll take a few more here. If we do Super, we'll keep it going. I hope you're right, Pegasus. There you go, Jared. Let him rip. So Jared told me he was watching LSU Tech this weekend. That's great. And this was a really fun live stream. I didn't feel like 2 hours. I really didn't. Crazy live stream. Talked about weed and boudin and all that good stuff. That's good stuff. We will be back. I'll be more than likely live with Blake tomorrow. And then I'll be back live on here on Tuesday. It is Power Hour LSU. Boom. Mike thinks Boston's going to get it done. We'll see. I said Boston in 6. So let's see. Tonight we are doing What are we doing? Oh. Like this bourbon chicken. It's pretty good. Let's go.